Morning, dear hearts. We are on lesson 166. Please subscribe. Today's lesson, I am entrusted with the gifts of God. And also, please share. If you find these videos helpful, please send them to someone else who may find them helpful as well. I'm entrusted with the gifts of God. All things are given you. God's trust in you is limitless. He knows his son. He knows his children. He gives without exception, holding nothing back that can contribute to your happiness. God's will for us is our perfect happiness, unconditional, unending, just for us to be happy, to be joyful all of the time. That's how we are meant to be. And yet, unless your will is one with his gifts are not received. We won't receive God's gifts to us if our will is apart from his, because we have accepted a different world and we have placed our trust, misplaced trust, but we have placed our trust in this other world. This world that we experience here is not the will of God, and it is not real. But if I've placed so much trust in it, I'm going to do whatever I can, despite the evidence all around me that it is not real. I see that it isn't certain, it isn't solid, it isn't trustworthy. And even with all of that evidence, I will still defend it because I made it. And it is an integral part of my thought system. And I don't want to be wrong. Would you prefer to be right or happy? Well, unfortunately, so many times I would prefer to be right. And if I defend this world, this thought system, then that's what I'm doing. I am sacrificing my happiness for my desire to be correct, right. Without the world he made, I'm an outcast. I'm homeless and afraid. I think this world is all there is. But truly, I have a world, I have a place to be where I am at home. Remember, I am at home. Fear is the stranger here. I am an alien in this world, but I am at home in heaven. I am in peace in heaven. I am surrounded by all that is real and true. Yet in his lonely, senseless wandering, because I'm in this world, God's gifts go with him, all unknown to him. He cannot lose them. God has saved everything for us, for this waiting patiently for us to turn and accept them. And that is what much of this lesson is about us being touched on our shoulder by our elder brother, to turn back to Christ, turn to our elder brother who is here wanting us to receive all of the gifts that he wants to share with us, because he is entrusted with the gifts of God. And the only way to have the gifts of God is to share the gifts of God. And there's some beautiful poetic paragraphs here about, us wandering this world, a sorry figure, weary, worn, in threadbare clothing, and with feet that bleed a little from the rocky road we walk. We walk in this world. It is a place that is filled with fear. It is a place that is filled with danger. It is not a place where we will ever find our true happiness. And remember that God's will for us is perfect happiness, and salvation must be true because it is the will of God. The will of God is for us to know ourselves and to come home. Salvation, atonement, at-one-ment, these are the gifts, the will of God, and he is giving us gifts that we will receive, we will know, we will recognize when we come home, when we accept them. This lesson has a throwback to lesson 156, that I walk with God in perfect holiness, when after it's talking about this weary walk with bloody feet and that we have felt defeat. Yet is he really tragic when you see that he is following the way he chose, and need but realize who walks with him God walks with me. And again, a question that we can ask all the time: who walks with me? God walks with me. Christ walks with me and opens up his treasures to be free. When that was upstairs, and as I turn to my elder brother, because he will touch me on my shoulder, Christ's touch upon your shoulder, to perceive that his gentle hand is directing you to look upon your gifts. Look upon your gifts. How could you then proclaim your poverty in exile? He would make you laugh at this perception of yourself. Where is self-pity then when we realize all that we have been given? And what becomes of all the tragedy you sought to make for him whom God intended only joy? God only intends joy and happiness for his most precious and beloved children. Your ancient fear has come upon you now, and justice has caught up with you at last. Christ's hand has touched your shoulder, and you feel that you are not alone. And as we realize we are not alone, we now turn and just consider the possibility that this touch upon your shoulder is really welcoming you, guiding you to the path where you are meant to travel. Who walks with me? Christ walks with me and leads me home. And says, and now, when we do that, now do we live, for now we cannot die. There is no death. The Son of God is free, who gently answers all your fears with this one merciful reply: it is not so. This is what our Father, this is what the Holy Spirit will tell us whenever we ask. As soon as there was that problem that we felt we were apart from God, we were given the answer. And there was a need that God did not understand, but to which he gave an answer. God does not know of our belief in being separate, because that is not a thought from the mind of God. But he recognized there was a problem and that his beloved children needed an answer. And so he provided it, and that is all. And every question that we have, and we turn to the Holy Spirit, we turn to our elder brother and tell them of our fears, and he will answer, it is not so. Paragraphs 13 through 15 of this lesson are incredibly beautiful. I do want to say, it says, the gifts you have are not for you alone. What he has come to offer you, you now must learn to give. Giving and receiving are one in truth. We have learned that. And in order for me to know of these gifts, I must share these gifts. The gifts are yours, entrusted to your care to give to all who choose the lonely road you have escaped. They do not understand, they but pursue their wishes. It is you who teach them now, for you have learned of Christ. There is another way for them to walk. There is another way for them to walk. Teach them. Teach them by showing them the happiness that comes to those who feel the touch of Christ and recognize God's gifts. Let sorrow not tempt you to be unfaithful to your trust. Remember, we are among the messengers, the ministers of God. This is part of our ministry, and this is the message that we give. We give the message of happiness by being happy. We give the message of joy by being joyful. We give the message to those who are not at peace for us to be peaceful. We become the example that will be followed when we accept the gifts of God and then share them. We are entrusted with the world's release from pain. Paragraph 14 says, and then paragraph 15, betray it not, become the living proof of what Christ's touch can offer everyone. God has entrusted all his gifts to you. Be witness in your happiness to how transformed the mind becomes which chooses to accept his gifts and feel the touch of Christ. Such is your mission now. For God entrusts the giving of his gifts to all who have received them. He has shared his joy with you, and now you go to share it with the world. We are entrusted with the gifts of God. We can only know we have them when we give them, and we can only know that we are being successful in the receiving of them when we see the joy, the smiles, the loving eyes of our brothers, and their smile comes to us, and we know we have been successful. We have been entrusted with the gifts of God, and we have given them truly as we are meant to do. That's it for today. I hope this helped. Please like, please share, please subscribe, please share, please subscribe, please comment, and please be here tomorrow. Again, we are finishing up with this beautiful section of lessons, and then once more we will be in review. Have a lovely day. Namaste.